pleasure to be here. So I have a double hat. So I'm professor at the University of Luxembourg, and I'm also one of the two CEOs of LuxProvide, the company hosting Meluxina. So it's really a pleasure to make this presentation for Japan. Knowing that Japan is having really the #1 supercomputer in the world, Fugaku, based in Riken. So a few years ago, Europe started also investing in supercomputers. Europe didn't want to have, let's say, only a top supercomputer, but really focusing on supercomputing network. So a network of machines, but network of also of experts. So we got 29 countries joining forces, and the European Union starting to invest first around €1 billion into the infrastructure, but also extending it next to the knowledge and to the expert, because really what is the key is not the machine, but the talents who are able to use a machine. So another €7 billion has been added to this to extend this exercise. Luxembourg has been really one of the biggest promoters for this Euro HPC initiative, and is also hosting the joint undertaking, so the part of European Union managing the whole network. The way we've been working, and what Joachim has just been highlighting before, is that the state of Luxembourg decided to participate, won the part of the competition to host one of the petascale solution in Luxembourg, and decided to play it a bit differently than the other countries, wishing to not only focus on excellence in science, but also excellence in industry and in economy. So a big focus has been put on making Meluxina, which is our supercomputer, accessible to the industry. So we've been looking for the highest level in terms of quality, confidentiality, trust, security, environment for the target sectors. So the finance, logistics, ICT, manufacturing, eco-technologies, space, and health technologies. So bringing together the fact that we would not only have the infrastructure, again, the connection to the external world, but also the expertise and the experts helping to develop solutions. So in contrary to other centers where basically your company has to apply for funding or getting access and then being ranked and maybe have access to the supercomputer something like 6 months after the reviews and so on. Here is more an on-demand approach, so a pay-per-use approach that we took for Meluxina. And all of this on a trusted environment. And we also bring the experts to help tailoring the solution and making it match with the target machine. So checking the range of applications, we understood that just a single homogeneous architecture would not match. We found out that we need for some applications to have a more CPU-oriented classical way of operating. But for artificial intelligence, for instance, GPU was the way to go, or for some testing for embedded solutions, FPGA. Then some need some big memory nodes and so on. All of these technologies are inside our machine and are interconnected by a very, let's say, efficient InfiniBand cross-connect, meaning that going from one node to another node, we just need a couple of microseconds, which makes really the heterogeneous machine as a single machine. So what does it bring it to your companies? So it will help you to improve the time to market because your solutions are going to run faster on the supercomputer, be able to tackle larger problems, and finally to reduce and save cost, because by the simulation and so on, you would not need that many, let's say, if you're in biology, wet labs or running on the real test beds and so on. So it definitely helps you saving cost. But as I mentioned, also working on larger problems and also maybe, and last but not least, taking advantage of all the data that you've been collecting over the years, and also getting access to all available data to start making some kind of reverse engineering and bringing back the underlying models of this data through AI and machine learning. So we really saw when designing the solution that the big data wave was hitting us and was a new way to approach the problems and find solutions. With this data-driven economy, that is one of the main targets for Luxembourg, we'll aim to have top financial performance, make faster decisions, and execute as intended. Luxembourg start really hosting data. So we've been now the unique center having all the Copernicus data in Europe. So there is more than 20 petabytes of data coming from different satellites in Luxembourg. We also host the Galileo data, and we have a lot of other space-related data. So we've been attracting recently quite some companies starting to dig into this data and bringing the whole ecosystem together, so that we will not provide only access to the data, but access to the supercomputing with Meluxina, access to the experts, just bringing a lot of added revenue and added value for these companies. So the idea is not, like some do, just make a separation between classical computational science and what is the new data science and artificial intelligence, but bringing these two together. So bringing existing models coupled with reverse engineering models coming from the big data and making this run on our machine. To show you one of the classical usage of Meluxina. So Meluxina is not the one that is going to decide if your car is going to turn left or right or stop, but Meluxina is the one that is going to train the neural networks that will be embedded into your car. So all this data is managed by Meluxina, and then training the new generations of neural networks that would be deployed on the IoT and the edge for inference, for decision making. One of the aim also of LuxProvide and Meluxina is to democratize HPC and HPDA. So if you look at the classical way of accessing a supercomputer, you have this kind of beautiful, very old-fashioned terminal screen, and then you need to enter commands. What we'd like to bring in is new generation of interfaces, new generation of access to the machine. So this access could be through some portals, but also we did plan a very nice cloud module on Meluxina. So Meluxina is able to run OpenStack and classical cloud software on this cloud module, and this would allow to bridge the public clouds like, I don't know, Amazon or Azure and so on, or the private cloud that you might also find in Luxembourg, and Meluxina. And this in a very efficient way, because the cloud module is also interconnected by InfiniBand, like I was mentioning before. So being able to talk in a couple of microseconds with the rest of the machine. So what LuxProvide is really doing is helping you to develop your HPC strategy. So identify the business opportunity, helping you to budget for the HPC and HPDA, help for formalizing the functional and technical requirement, helping you to define what would be required in terms of skills for your company, the implementation and the testing and the production. So what Joachim was highlighting before is that we have a set of very, let's say, high-level research institute in Luxembourg. I was mentioning SMILE, SNT, LIST, and the university. So we might also have access to hundreds of experts to these centers. And these experts, coupled with the experts that we have on board in LuxProvide, would be helping you to implement proof of concepts, feasibility studies to check if there is a real adequation of Meluxina, of the HPC for your business. I think Jenny was mentioning the state aid for companies implemented in Luxembourg that could help also reducing cost for having all this proof of concept and research and development activity. And we just iterate, and once it's ready to run in production, then we can still continue and keep optimizing and adding features to your software. So LuxProvide is really not only about just a machine, which is Meluxina, but also so the computing, the data, the training, the support, the solution engineering, in the cloud access, which is, I think, one of the new ways of working with high-performance computing. Last but not least, because I mentioned that expertise and talents is a key, University of Luxembourg got the opportunity now to lead European initiative to define a joint curriculum in high-performance computing. So we are going to define what is the body of knowledge for HPC. We are going to implement some lectures, and we are going to run 2 different cohorts of students across Europe. So today we have 17 countries joining forces. I think that a couple of additional countries will come and join the consortium. And in my understanding, it's quite unique, and I haven't seen this across all other continents. So that really HPC will not be only these 3 letters, but will be also a standard curriculum. And when somebody is saying I'm mastering HPC, there will be a well-defined level and knowledge that needs to be acquired. We will start the first promotion, the first cohort in September 2022. So it's very, let's say, very short notice for starting. And then we will have a second cohort in 2023. We will already have the new set of lectures, common exams, and so on. So thank you for listening. It was really my pleasure.
I think in this Euro HPC project, there are many 29 countries participating, and Meluxina started operation last June. How are other countries doing?
So basically 8 countries won the fact of having a supercomputers. The biggest supercomputers would be in Spain, Italy, and Finland. Finland start already deploying the CPU part of the supercomputers, but today Meluxina is the fastest one available. We already have also the calls for the European projects that could be served by Meluxina and the other countries.
Thank you very much. So if Japanese research institute or Japanese companies are looking forward to collaboration in some way, are you open to this kind of request?
Of course. So in fact, today in Meluxina, we already have some customers from Singapore and India. So we would be very welcoming customers and partners from Japan.